Who's live? We're both live. Online. That's what the system is telling me. So you guys are maybe out there and kicking. There could be some folks out there. Always good to hear. Maybe there's folks out there in the ether, waiting for their daily dose of cyber news. Welcome to your cup of cyber. It's Jim with Cyber-Recon. Obviously, we got a heavy day ahead of us because it's Thursday. It always starts out this way. It always starts out Monday. We're late. We just build and build and build to this crescendo of cyber news and information that's coming out for you today. Today, our early coffee's in a Montana coffee cup because we're sporting the Montana Grizzlies Go Grizz shirt. Just saying, big sky country, man. What a beautiful place. So, what is going on in the news today, you might say? What is out there? A bunch of stuff. There's a load. Every day it loads more and more and more onto our plate that we have to deal with as cyber risk and security professionals. We just are, this heavy weight we're bearing, this load we have to carry of new threats, new vulnerabilities, new attackers coming at us each and every day. What is new today? Let's think about what we got. We've got a new vulnerability in Android. We've got Dutch hackers that have figured out how to mess with traffic lights. We've got Department of State putting out a bounty or a reward for folks that are trying to break into the elections or alter the election. Lazarus Group is adding new attack techniques, new ransomware techniques to their attack portfolio. Ensiko, another attack strain. Redcar and Cleveland talk about their cyber attack. The FBI is out there telling you what to watch out for with your Windows 7 installation. So much going on that we need some good news today. And that good news is going to come at you as the fact that it is Root Beer Float Day, kind of sponsored by A&W. It's been around for a while. But that's the stuff we've got coming at you. God, it's a lot. I remember when we first started doing this. When we first started doing it, the format was totally different. We first started doing the cyber news as a big push forward. It was about 4 stories a day. We cover about 4 stories a day. I think today we've got 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stories. And that's pared down from the list that comes out, the massive list that's out of the things we need to talk about. There's stuff we just can't talk about. We'll never, ever get to it. So we have to kind of cull or harvest the top things, the best stories of the news. That's what we have to go with. We have to go with those things that you're going to need to know today. Those things that are the most important. Those things you may get questions on today. So that's what we've got. That's what we've got on the docket. That's what we're talking about. This is probably going to be, unless something changes drastically, this will be our second to last episode that we'll restream. And what that means to you is if you're watching on Twitch or you're watching on Facebook, it's going to be moved all onto YouTube. All the live is going to be moved onto YouTube. So if you like watching it live, you're going to have to watch it on YouTube, which is youtube.com/Cyber-Recon. Still go live. We still push everything out live. All the content's live. But it's only going to be on Cyber-Recon as we go forward. Or it's only going to be on Cyber-Recon's YouTube channel, I should say, as we go forward. Just because the software that's being used to send the stream to multiple locations just fails me on comments. The comments don't come through. And that's a big part of what I think the show is all about, is hearing from you guys, hearing your comments, making sure that your input is added, because I've got one perspective. I've got one view of the news. You guys got another view. And a lot of you guys out there watching are cyber professionals. You're security folks. You're working in the risk arena. So you know your slant on these things. So I got to have that input too. That's what rounds out the show. That's what makes it what it is. So without the feedback, without the chat, without being able to put the comments from Kevin and Dennis and Alex and everybody else, and Paul, everybody that comments, you're part of the show. You're part of what is getting everyone informed about the cyber events of the day, the cyber news of the day. And that's just important. That is important to me. That your comments are heard. I'm trying to get. It's weird when you look in the thing. You got backwardsness. It's like being back in the military and doing the mirror technique on your exercises. So that's what we're talking about today. That's the news of the day. There's a ton going on, so there's no need to hang out. Keep waiting. Let's throw the intro out there. I'll get the news set up and queued up, and we'll be back right after the intro. Always a little good little tune to hear in the morning, because that means we are getting on with the day. This pandemic has got us crazy, right? I forgot DEF CON's going on. I mean, DEF CON and Black Hat are going on in Vegas. I just forgot. It's just that it's that kind of year where things just get lost in the mix. But if you know anything about DEF CON and Black Hat, they are security conferences held in Las Vegas, Nevada, and they're huge. They are the biggest, in my mind, the biggest cyber conferences that I know of. Right? There's other conferences going on. ShmooCon here in DC that happens. There's B-Sides, which are always great to go to if you can go to a B-Sides event, and a ton of other conferences. But I think Black Hat and DEF CON are the security conferences. I just forgot they were going on. But there's a lot of news coming out of Black Hat and DEF CON that we need to talk about. And one of them is this new Android attack. So attackers looking to steal sensitive information like contacts, call history, SMS verification codes from Android devices only need to target Bluetooth protocols, according to a new DB Apps security research presented at the 2020 Black Hat Conference Wednesday. This is from Cyber Scoop. These exploits, there's two of them, take advantage of a zero-day vulnerability that allows hackers to send fake text messages if they're popular. Hold on. There we go. If they're properly implemented. So one of them takes advantage of this connection that's made between a Bluetooth device and something like a car or your house or a speaker, whatever that Bluetooth connection is. And it's called Blue Reply. And essentially the attacker would take advantage of the authentication bypass. You do have to approve this one. So it's kind of like in your car. Such and such wants to connect to your phone, but once you connect, done deal, man. They are totally, they being the hackers, are totally bypassing authentication. They can intimidate. They can imitate a device and exploit the phone. So the actual effect of this vulnerability is the victim has no awareness at all that attackers access their personal phone or SMS messages. Sorcel Shu, a security researcher at DB App Security, told CyberScoop. That's probably. I think that's the second one. That's the second. That's Blue Reply. Blue Reply targets the ability for a device that has previously been associated with that network to reconnect to it. So generally, hackers can exploit blue reply to steal users' contacts, call logs, short messages, but can go one step further to send a fake text message from victims' devices if they're exploiting any device made from one particular manufacturer. They don't say which manufacturer, but that manufacturer made approximately 100 million Android devices, right? It works by allowing the attackers to disguise themselves as a trusted application, requesting permission that allow one Bluetooth-enabled device to share data with another device, such as a headset or car infotainment system. The other attack runs successfully, must be enabled on the target device, and the victim must approve the attacked request privileges. So there's two attacks here. One just sneaks right in. It doesn't need any permission from the user. The other one is kind of like your car. It needs permission to make the connection. So there's two going on, both uncovered, or both briefed at Black Hat this week. Guys, crazy that Black Hat's going on right now. Crazy. So that's what's going on. This is tied to a note that Twitter put out as well, saying you got to patch your stuff because they of course are on the chopping block for a number of things, and they don't want another round of people sending out messages to Twitter on doubling your money, double down on your money kind of thing. That's what so Twitter is jumping on this, saying, hey, go patch your Android devices, because they know that if this is exploited, the attacker can not only get your information, but they can send out short messages, which is exactly what Twitter is all about, sending out short messages. So it would allow an attacker to get within Bluetooth range of someone, some celebrity, some important person, and send that message out asking for Bitcoin again, or some other type of scam. So this blue reply, this other attacks on Bluetooth devices on Android has really got Twitter up in arms too. They're saying, hey, go patch this thing, because we don't want to be playing that game again. It's just not something we want to do. So Twitter, Bluetooth, and Android all in the news on this one. Check it out. It's in the story from Cyber Scoop down below. This next one's kind of interesting. It's all about being like the Hollywood movie star, right? So you go, we've all seen these movies where some hacker goes in and he gets into the traffic grid and he's changing all the lights and making it so that the bad guy can get away by racing down the street and all the lights turn green. The story here from Wired Magazine talks about Die Hard 4 and the Italian Job. That talk about this. It's not as easy as that all is. It's not as easy as logging into some terminal and sending signals to the traffic system. So it's been tried and it's been presented. So the bottom of the story talks about there was the ability to mess with traffic lights in the United States, and that's towards the bottom of the story here. Essentially, there was the ability to send spoofed traffic communications to a traffic light, to the traffic sensors, to influence the traffic lights. And it's been done a couple times. It was presented at Black Hat or DEF CON a couple years ago. There was a paper on it by the University of Michigan. It was DEF CON is where it was presented this year. But the ability to influence traffic lights that old way, you had to be within radio frequency distance of the traffic light to be able to change it. So you couldn't, be sitting in a hotel like the Italian Job and hacking in and changing lights and watching cameras and all the craziness that they do in the shows. This one is a little different. And doesn't work really here in the United States. This works on Dutch traffic lights, and it's been proven kind of in 10 different cities that it works in 10 different cities in the Netherlands. And essentially what it's doing is there's a program in the Netherlands, in the Dutch system, where if you're on a bicycle and you have this application on your phone and it coordinates your GPS location with the traffic light, if there's no other traffic coming, or if it's time to cycle those lights, this program will allow the bicyclist getting close to the light to send their GPS location to the system. The system will analyze the traffic, and if possible, it will change that light green for the cyclists so they can keep on trucking through the light. So essentially, obviously in the United States, we care quite a bit less about cyclists. We care quite a bit less about pedestrians for that fact. We care a lot about cars, and the rest of it can kind of, go figure out whatever they're going to do. So we don't have this program where if you're on a bicycle and you're getting close to a light and it's possible to change the light, it'll change. But in the Netherlands, that's where this worked. They tried 2 different applications. The first one only worked in like 1 or 2 cities. The second one works in at least 10 different cities. And essentially what they're doing is from a remote location, they can spoof the GPS location in this app. They can spoof the GPS location to a location close to a traffic light, and if that light is ready to cycle or there's not traffic there, it'll change it to green for the bicyclist to get through the light. So really it's an annoyance more than anything right now, because the traffic lights, if there's a lot of traffic, it's not going to immediately change for this bicyclist to get through. But it can lock up traffic. If used right, it could cause some pretty good traffic jams. It's crazy, but as we see more of this integration, more of the integration of apps, smart apps, apps on phones with infrastructure, this is a good example of it. It's probably ahead of anything we'd see in the United States. But in this case, it's the little bicyclist with their app getting up close to the light turning green, and they can just keep trucking. Can be abused to actually control the light from a remote location. So this one can be done from anywhere, right? So if you wanted to, you could spoof the information on this app to allow the traffic light to be modified, given there's a bunch of requirements and special circumstances around this, right? It has to be one of these cities that has this program up and running. It has to be a light that is ready to cycle, or it's low traffic. A bunch of different things, but it's just an indicator of where things are going. So as we integrate more apps with our infrastructure, we have to think about things like this. So essentially, it's an attacker masquerading as a bicyclist, and even though they're not at that GPS location, they can pretend they're at that GPS location, send the signal, and it will change the light if all conditions are correct. So that's coming. It's a pretty good article. It does talk a little bit about the attack that is possible in the United States, but that's only possible if you're within radio frequency distance to a light, so you can't change them all across the city. Like in this case, in the Netherlands, you could, as an application or a group of people, you could change a bunch of lights in the Netherlands, right? In the Netherlands. Department of State's up on the news as well. This is the 3rd time the U.S. Department of State Rewards for Justice program has been used. And this article from ZDNet talks about the Department of State offering $10 million for information leading to the identification of any person who works with a foreign government for the purposes of interfering with U.S. elections through illegal cyber activities. And the article talks about a bunch of stuff. It tells we're about 100 days away from the election. A lot of people are worried about people messing with the electronic voting system, influencing social media, all kinds of stuff. So this is not, they go out to say, this is specifically targeted at people in other countries. And it's just not just any hacker. The article goes on to say, such adversaries could also conduct malicious cyber operations against U.S. political organizations or campaigns to steal confidential information and then leak that information as part of influence operations to undermine political organizations or candidates. That falls under this reward as well. So they're worried about, the Department of State is worried about people messing with the election. So, like I said, this is the 3rd time that this has been used. So the article talks about the 3 times. The reward will be paid through the Department of State's Rewards for Justice program. It only applies to information provided about activities of hackers associated with foreign governments that may try to meddle in the U.S. election process, not just any hackers, right? So that's a big important thing to know. This is the third major award offered for information on hackers through the Rewards for Justice program. In April, the Department of State officials offered $5 million for information leading to the identification and capture of North Korean government hackers. U.S. officials say North Korean hackers are responsible for a large number of cyber attacks focused on financial gain in recent years, most outside the normal spectrum of intelligence gathering that's quietly accepted in most countries. And we're going to talk about Lazarus Group, right? Like Lazarus is coming up in the show, and we'll talk about Lazarus. That's APT 38 for you folks keeping track at home with the APTs. That's a state-sponsored advanced persistent threat, the Lazarus Group. And they're out of Korea. They're about financial gain. They're about propping up and keeping the North Korean government funded. In addition, in July, the U.S. State Department offered its second major award to foreign hackers who offered two separate $1 million rewards for information on Ukrainian hackers leaked to the breach of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission in 2016. So obviously this is things that people are worried about. They're worried about the influence that happened in the last election. They're worried about people breaking into the voting machines. They're worried about a bunch of stuff. So the State Department is, working with trying to get this reward out on the national stage, trying to figure out, how we can keep the election secure. And obviously that is obviously an important thing. So speaking of the Lazarus Group, and we think about what the Lazarus Group does. Lazarus Group is normally tied to somehow influencing other countries, or more than that, getting financial gain for the North Korean regime, the political structure in North Korea. So this is from Cyber Social. Like Cyber Social, they put some good stories out. Lazarus Group makes a new news again with the new VHD ransomware. And they don't ever explain what VHD stands for. But according to research by Kaspersky, the North Korean-linked Lazarus APT group has been spotted using its own ransomware called VHD. The connection was established by researchers during the analysis of attacks conducted by Lazarus on businesses in Asia and France. So links to this is links to the infection chain commenced with threat actors gaining access to the target networks after exploiting vulnerable VPN gateways. That's how they got in. They exploited the VPN gateways. The privileged on compromised networks were escalated, and a backdoor was installed as part of the MATA framework, a malware framework. This framework associated with North Korean-based Lazarus Group based on one-of-a-kind orchestrator file names and versions of manuscript Trojan, or Volgamer. So this is new. This is new, and it's new for them because normally they don't use ransomware. So Lazarus has been motivated to target big global organizations. They really haven't messed with ransomware since they messed around with WannaCry. And that's been a while. So they stayed away from it. Now we can expect to see more ransomware attacks by Lazarus as they move forward. The article concludes by saying it's now expected that these recent attacks are part of an emerging trend, pushing organizations to take preemptive security measures against such state-sponsored threats. And we say the APT 38 is Lazarus. We worry about them. Again, state-sponsored APT out of Korea. So what they're after financial gain. That's what Lazarus does. They're using that financial gain to prop up the North Korean regime that gets money for the infrastructure, the political structure. So 3 points the article makes about how to stay safe. Ensure all systems, software, and applications are updated with the latest security patches. Conduct a cybersecurity audit of the organization's network and remediate all vulnerabilities discovered in the perimeter inside the perimeter or inside the network and on the perimeter. Ensure that security teams are powered with the latest threat intelligence and TTPs, or techniques, tools, and procedures. I always get them at TTPs mixed up. You guys always correct me on that one. So be aware, Lazarus is doing new things. They're in the ransomware arena again, because there's a ton of money in it. Like we said yesterday, it's possible NetWalker made $25 million in 3 months. Come on, man. A lot of money to be made in ransomware. A lot of ways to get in trouble, though. So don't think about doing it. Just be aware that it's out there. Ensiko is next on the chopping block. It's another addition to the ransomware lineup. So this is from Cyber Social again. This is a malware threat to any system using PHP, such as Windows, Linux, and Mac. What other systems are there? To me, they're all Windows systems. I guess mainframe, COS. Malware can be remotely used by threat actors to control a compromised system and conduct malicious activities. So, other capabilities it has, Ensiko can execute shell commands on the target system and send back the results to the operators via PHP reverse shell. Scan servers to look for other web shells, deface websites, disclose sensitive information, send mass emails, and download remote files, amongst other things. Malware can be password protected. The file encryption component is one of the capabilities that can be used to wage attacks against servers. According to Trend Micro, the malware uses PHP Rengel 128 algorithm with CBC mode to encrypt files in a shell directory, cyclic block chaining, CBC. Another function includes recursive overwrite of files within a specified extension in a directory of a web shell. That means we're wiping out files, right? A recursive overwrite just means we're going to delete a file by just overwriting it a bunch of times. Conclusion on this one, bottom line, is that the use of web shell malware to exploit computer networks has increased. Should be noted that only internet connected systems are not the targets. So basically, all systems that can run this PHP are targets, not just the ones connected to the internet. Web shells are frequently deployed to non-internet facing servers, such as network device management interfaces or internal content management systems. Moreover, web shells are difficult to identify, as they can be easily modified by the operators, and several detection methods should be employed to discover such malware in a system. So essentially, it's a PHP script that can be launched against any flavor of operating system, if it's Windows, Linux, or Mac OS. And it can do a bunch of things: rewrite and deface files. It can send information out. It can do all kinds of stuff, including encrypting the file system or overwriting files. So it's dangerous thing. So it's not exactly ransomware. It can do all kinds of things in addition. And it doesn't say who's using this thing. I guess it's out there as a new player in the world, right? Some things we have to worry about. Obviously, ransomware is everywhere. I'm not spend a lot of time on this one. This is just talking about Redcar cyber attack and the cost of this thing. So, cyber attack on council's computer systems estimated cost more than £10 million. That's about $13.5 million or so. So 135 people were impacted by this outage by Redcar and Cleveland's website and the computer systems that were targeted. Things they couldn't log into the site, they couldn't do normal collection of taxes, that kind of stuff. So they figured out how much it cost for this attack. And again, this is just so you have information in your arsenal when you go to talk about your security budget. Figure of £10.4 million was given to the government along with other information to assist in the due diligence process. Recovery of IT equipment and replacement of stuff is about £2.4 million. Some other things is just lost revenue. was about £1 million because they couldn't collect taxes and that kind of thing. There's just it runs down what this attack cost. It's good to know, this particular attack cost about $13.5 million, let's say, just so you have in your arsenal of, why we care about security at work, right? That's important, I think. That's an important concept. And then finally, in our long list of news stories, the FBI is issued a warning over Windows 7 to just basically saying, come on, people, it's end of life. Let's get rid of it. People are actively attacking this thing, going after it like crazy. There's a free upgrade to Windows 10. And obviously the thing they point out is maybe you can't afford the hardware to go in Windows 10. I'm telling you personally, if you're not upgrading, you're just primed for one of these attacks. There's too many vulnerabilities out there to keep running with an end-of-life system. You're not getting patches on Windows 7. You're not getting those security updates unless you're paying for the upgrade. If you're paying for the extended service, and if you're paying for the extended service, you can pay for the hardware. Take the free upgrade to 10. Get to 10. It's a jump, and I know it's hard for some organizations to do it, but if we look back at the movement from XP to 7, there was those systems that hung out at XP were far too vulnerable and way more attacked than anything else. The FBI says, however, when reacting to the cost of the upgrade, be it time or equipment, the FBI says, however, these challenges do not outweigh the loss of intellectual property and threats on an organization. Essentially, if you don't upgrade and you get hacked, and there's a bunch of attacks out there that target Windows 7 systems, and if you have Windows 7 still, you're right in that target zone. You're right in the target zone. So it's crazy, we have to worry about these things. Just seeing what's going on with the stream, making sure everything is working. So we have to protect ourselves. We have to upgrade if we can. So ensure antivirus, spam filters, firewalls are up to date, properly configured and secure. Audit the network configurations to isolate computers that cannot be updated. I'm saying put them in their own VLAN. The allergies killing me today. Auditing your network systems using RDP for systems using RDP, because that's a big attack vector. If you have Windows 7 and RDP or remote desktop protocol, you're just asking for it. Close unused RDP ports. Apply two-factor authentication wherever possible, and log all RDP logout attempts so you know when somebody's knocking on your door trying to get in. Basically, if you got Windows 7, if you have Windows 7, please have a plan to upgrade it. Have a plan to get that thing corrected, to get it off of your network. Don't continue on with it. Gosh, it's bad news. It's bad news to keep running Windows 7. That's all I got to say. And then that wraps up. There was a ton in the news. It's important to know about Lazarus. It's important to know about Ensiko. I'll probably get all these things tied up. Those you need to know about. You need to know about this new Android attack. That's important. The other stuff's kind of filler to make sure you have the information around your day. The Redcar and Cleveland attack. No, that attack cost that organization, part of the government, about $13.5 million to recover from. No, the Dutch hackers are messing with lights. Think about that as we're working about adding and upgrading features to our smartphones and what things we can do here in the good old US of A. And the other thing is, before we go, it is Root Beer Float Day, sponsored by A&W. Man, I don't have the link up. I killed the link. I think if I remember the article right, because it's not up there anymore, but check out the article. I think if you go to A&W, you can get a free root beer float today. That's always a good thing, right? Maybe on a bad day you need a root beer float. So that's your rundown of the day. That's what's going on. Man, there's a lot a lot going on. Working on things, working on closing the loop on a bunch of activities here around the Cyber-Recon shop. One thing, making Cat 6 cables last night. Some folks in the Cyber-Recon crew had never made cables before, and if you ever made cables, you know it's fun. These new cables, they're pass-through. You separate. You still got to do your wires in order. You put your wires in order. You get them all straightened out, and then you can push it through the end of the RJ45 cable. There's little holes in the end. So once you're aligned and you get in those tracks and you push forward, instead of butting up against the end of the plastic cap, there's holes and all the wires come out the top. You can pull them out the top. You can pull it tight down to the neck of that sheathing. Make sure it's a nice solid connection. And then you can double check your colors again. Before you crimp down, you can look to see if you're in the correct order for which type of connector you're making. And then you can crimp down, clip the ends off. Bob's your uncle. Man, these are nice. Much easier way to do it than the old school where you shoved them in there and so one got bent, you crimped it down, you did your test, just only realized you missed a cable, you cross connected something. Your tester told you try again, you clip that end off and start over. These are a lot nicer, a little bit easier to use in a couple ways. This first time I've used these ones. But when you first time you use them, you do have to force that cable through to get all those wires to come out, all of those little holes. So we'll be talking about that more. And Mako's actually going to put a video together, walking you guys through using these new types of RJ45 connectors. Pretty damn cool in my book. Pretty dang cool if you're sensitive. We got to cable everything up. We got to make a bunch of cables for the relay rack. We got to make a bunch of cables from the back of the patch panel to the switch. We've got all kinds of stuff to do. We've got to make some long cables to run from way over there to way over here. I'll show you all that when we upgrade the network. And we got the network drawing done-ish. There's a couple things that aren't on it. But we're just going to roll with it. We're going to roll with that, let you see the network, walk through securing the current infrastructure, which is essentially we backed it all the way down to just the router provided by the cable company, walk through securing that on the device, on a web browser, and then the last mile device. There's some things you can only configure on your phone, so we'll do that as well. And then we'll jump into, we're going to jump all the way forward to the Ubiquity stuff, and then we're going to back up to the middle layer, which is if you have a fat access point that has firewall, IDS, DHCP all built into that one device. But I really want to get this Ubiquity set up. It's a cool system. We figured out how we're going to put all three, where we're going to put all three of the access points. We're going to walk through setting all those up. This environment, they're not fat access points. They're thin access points. They're just the radios that connect back. They're power over Ethernet powered, so all you need is that Cat 5 cable. Plug it in, and again, Bob's your uncle. It's going to be a cool setup. Going to be moving forward. So hope to see you along that route. But anyways, as always, Mike's going to tell you, go get some. I'm going to say, keep on rocking in the free world, right? Go have a safe day. Go secure the stuff. Take care of your friends, family, and coworkers. Make sure they know what's going on. Make sure if they've got Androids, let them know about this vulnerability. If you're running Windows 7, if you got friends, family, and coworkers running Windows 7, get them off Windows 7. Take the free upgrade to 10. Even though it expired a while ago. When did they say it expired? Ended in July 2016. They're still allowing systems to be upgraded at no cost to Windows 10. So go from 7 to 10. Get 7 off your network. Get it off your friends, family, coworkers network. Get off your corporate network if you got it there still. That's the day. That's the day we had. That's what's ahead. And go enjoy root beer float if you can. But that's it for me. I will see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same place. If you can, hit the like button. Hit the bell to subscribe to be notified when. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Hit the bell to be notified. Drop a comment below. That'd be awesome. And like the video. Always helps the algorithm. So, anyways, I'll see you guys tomorrow, 7:30. If you're watching later in the day, thanks for watching later in the day. I appreciate that too. If you're watching later in the day, drop a comment. If you can't comment live, but you can't comment in the comment section. I always reply to those. So until tomorrow, we'll see you guys. Be safe out there.